Hello, ninth grade. It's Mr. Applequist. Today we are going to learn how to make a still life out of vectors. Yesterday we started with a mug and a ball. So now we're going to get a little more complicated with shadows and making things look a little more realistic. So just to show you what can be done by copying pictures, here's something I've done. It's a little tribute to a show called The Twilight Zone. This guy, I overlaid a picture. That's the picture I used. So you can see it better. Here's a comparison. So for him, I just imported the picture and then I started laying pieces on top to try and match the different pieces of his face. So you can see that it's not exactly lining up right now. I actually changed it a little bit for different designs that I was making. I think I shrunk it and I guess I made it a little bit thinner. But you can see how it mostly lines up with his face right now. So today we're going to be doing a bowl of fruit. I've got 4 different pictures for you. I'm going to do a tutorial of one of them. This is the one we're going to work on. This is another one that I just decided not to work on, but you can see how it would go. We've got these animations already. Sorry, cartoons. They're not animated because they're not moving. So you can pick from one of these 4. As I said, I'm going to use this one. So the way we start, we go to File, New Design. I'm going to do Landscape, US letter, 11 by 8.5. Go to Picture. I'm going to import it. You guys will have all the pictures at the bottom of this assignment. So I'm going to click the one that is bowl of fruit in rain. Gonna stay away from doing anything that has to do with the rain right now. We're gonna ignore that. So first we're going to concentrate on one of the pieces of fruit that we want to make. I will start with the apple. So let's make an ellipse. We'll hit E on the keyboard. We can always go up here, remember, but I'm just gonna hit E. Oh, wrong thing, Control Z. So I hit E, now I've got an ellipse. So I want it to be red. Just to line up with the color, I'll change it to dark red. And I'm going to bring down the opacity to 50% so I can see what's behind it. Bring that in a little bit. All right, that's pretty close. And I could keep that exactly the way I wanted it, exactly that way if I wanted it to be like that. But I want to get a little bit more accurate, so I'm going to transform it. So I went to Convert to Path. Now when I hit D on the keyboard, that's going to be my subselect. So this is going to change from a filled in arrow to a hollow arrow. I could also click on it, but I'm not going to click on it. I'm just going to hit D on the keyboard. Sorry, V, the letter V as in vector. I want to hit D, sorry. I want to hit D to go to subselect. D as in Dexter or direction. So now I can adjust it. Remember, subselection, the hollow arrow, because I hit D. So I can just pull these things in a little bit. I'm going to zoom in, Control plus, or I can go over here to the plus sign to zoom in. And I'm just going to drag this out a little bit to be a little bit more accurate. So it's not a perfect circle because it's a fruit. And if I want to, I can even try and make it look like what I think it looks like under the fruit, behind the grapes. So I've got that, I've got it red. But also I'm going to copy this. I want to copy and paste this because I want to do something on top of it so I can get this little indent and dimple. So I'm going to Control C and Control V to copy and paste. Undo that. That was from the last thing. I want to select this with my selection tool. So I hit V as in Victor or vector. Click that, and I hit Control C to copy, then Control V to paste. You'll see that it got darker. because it was at half opacity before. So now when two things are on top of each other at half opacity, they bring it to 100% opacity. So with this, I want to change the color fill. I want to make it look more like the fruit. So I'm going to go up here. I think when it's recording, you don't see this menu drop down. I'm clicking on where it says color fill. A menu drops down that says color fill, linear gradient, radial gradient, angular gradient, texture fill, noise, and background fill. I want the one that says radial gradient. So I've got these bars at the top now that are going between these two colors. It is a gradient between red and very, very, very dark, almost black red. So what I want to do is actually pull this circle in. I want the center to be where that dot is. And I want this to actually flip around so the dark part is in the center. So let's undo that, undo. So what I want is to make the center, this part, to be the dark. I want that to be dark. And I want this part to be closer to red. So I'll make the center there. And let's see how that works. So it's radiating. As I get further out, it gets further out. So I want it to be kind of a small shadow towards the center. Drag that more there. And now it kind of looks like it's got a little more shape to it. I'm also going to give it an inner shadow. I think that'll give it, let's see how that makes it look. So that kind of gives it another little subtle roundness to it. Let's get rid of the background and see how it looks. So it kind of looks like a fruit now. As we get more detailed with our other aspects, it'll start to look more like a fruit, I think. So now let's make one of the grapes. We are going to make another ellipse. So we'll hit E. And I'm going to make an oval that lines up with this grape. I'm going to turn down the opacity. And I'm going to change the color to somewhere in the green-yellow spectrum. A little more yellow. So somewhere about here. That's pretty close. So I actually also want to give it another linear gradient. We have the light coming from the top. So we're going to give it a linear gradient. And we want the light to be on the top here. And we want the shadow to be on the bottom. And I'm still just adjusting it. So now, when I turn off that background picture, let's see how it looks. I will turn up the opacity on this guy. Let's see how he looks when he's full opacity. Looks kind of like a grape. Also kind of looks like the tennis ball again. So we can make it a little bit flatter if we want. Let's turn back on the picture. So even though it doesn't exactly line up with the picture now, and with the picture, I want this part to be perfect white. So let's see what happens when I do that. Nope, undo, Control Z. So I can add colors to this if I want to get a little more complicated, but we don't have to. So I can add additional colors here somewhere in the middle so it definitely stays towards this green. And that's a little too green. I want it to be a little more yellow. So you'll see it kind of gives it this shine to it, which I can keep if I want, or I can get rid of. So it's up to you where your shadows go. This thing I think looks a little more realistic now. That's getting a little dark. So as I draw this around, I control the shadow really. So I'm going to copy and paste this guy a couple times so I can make my multiple grapes. Control C, Control V. And as I copy and paste it, I'm going to pick up each one, because if I don't, then it might get a little complicated with the layers and I might get confused. So I'm just going to copy and paste a bunch of these and move them around. And I'm also going to turn them to make them look a little more realistic. And whichever one I think should be on top should be the next one that I copy and paste. So let's do another one. Control V, I'm pasting another one, and I want this guy to go right here. And I want to turn it like that. And if I want, I can change where these shadows go to adjust them. I can make this shadow like that, see? Maybe makes it look a little more realistic with the way the water's going on it. So Control C, Control V, copying and pasting this one, which is the same one I think as that one. So I can make them bigger a little bit if I want to, just to make them look a little more realistic. So let's see what it looks like without my background picture. Starting to look a little more like a bowl of fruit, right? So I'm just going to copy and paste a couple more on there. And I want these to be ahead of the fruit, remember? So I'm going to send this backwards. I can do that up here. Send backwards and backwards and backwards. We'll keep going backwards. Or remember, I can do Control down arrow. So I accidentally went too far. I went behind the picture. So let's go bring that back up. There. So this should be ahead of that one, so we shouldn't be able to see it. Where is this? I'm wondering why I can see. Well, we can always just do subtract if this is above it. So if we want to do that, we can just do subtract. If I select both of these things. But I'd have to lock the background, remember? So let's lock the background. Oh, because the other one's not. That's why. Okay. So this gets into when I need to make groups so that I have everything put together. So I've got the background locked. I want to figure out where this guy is. I'm going to send him. This path should be with this. There. So I'm going to make this path called, I'm going to group these two together. Call them apple. So I group them together. Now I double click on here and call it apple. Now I want all my grapes together too. So I will group them together. Call them grapes. And now I know this one's still left out. I still want to include that with the grapes. So I can just put that into the group. So we also need to make the bowl on the bottom still, right? And we still need to make a couple more grapes. So save this the way you have it right now, and we will continue working on it tomorrow. But make sure you save this right now and upload your progress. If you want to keep working on this, you can. But I'm going to finish giving you the step-by-step tomorrow in a tutorial. So save what you have right now, upload it, and check back tomorrow. Signing off, guys. So remember, go to File and Export JPEG. That's how you upload it, all right? before that, you need to do save to cloud as. We will call it Fruit Bowl. So save it as your name and then Fruit Bowl.